Is there enough stuff to do in a 55 plus community that you won't be bored? Can you buy a house in an age restricted community if you're not 55, maybe 45? And is there a floor plan that can actually kill your resale value in one of these neighborhoods? Well, today we're going to cover all of this and more, so stick with me. Hi, I'm Sandy Williams. I'm a realtor here in Southwest Florida, and today we're going to cover something that's very near and dear to me. I've personally lived in two 55 plus communities in Florida, so we're going to dive into what it's really like to live in one and get some of your common questions answered that I know a lot of my clients have asked me when they considered moving into an age-restricted community. So you're thinking about moving down to Florida, perhaps to have a winter retreat, or maybe even to retire here and live permanently. You might have checked out some 55 plus communities online, or perhaps you even made a trip down here, played some golf, maybe a competitive pickleball game. And I know that a lot of 55 plus communities will even allow you to attend some events if you're interested in buying in there. These communities can be very attractive, but they are not for everyone. I've helped a lot of buyers move into them, and unfortunately, I've helped my clients sell their properties when they realized that community was not a good fit for them. That can be a costly mistake with time as well as money. If you've lived in a 55 plus community, I want to hear about your experiences. Or if you have any questions, write your comments below. Let's go. So the first question is, are 55 plus communities full of grumpy busybodies? This question comes up a lot. And my husband even asked this question when we were first exploring living in one. Well, since the majority of people are retired, they can be home more, which means they do have the potential to see a lot of stuff that you're doing. And that can be good and bad. These neighborhoods have kind of an added sense of security, which is your neighbor. They know who belongs here and who doesn't. The positive is that you really do have someone looking out for you. So there is an additional sense of security knowing your neighbor is home if you need something. My experience has been positive, especially when I've been on vacation. And I have to admit that sometimes I forget to stop the newspaper. My neighbors have kept an eye out for my home, and they've even picked up my Amazon packages knowing I wouldn't be back soon. But on the flip side, yes, your neighbors are home more and they're often outside gardening. A lot of my neighbors talk to each other in the street, they'll sit around, they'll meet up. So you can lose some privacy because they are at home. So they will see you, and if you're doing something you shouldn't, you may get called out on it. Another question my clients ask me, are 55 plus communities boring? Or Sandy, what is there to do here? Most communities that are age restricted, especially here in Florida, are very amenity rich. They will have resort style pools, hot tubs, even resistance pools. And there will also be areas to sunbathe and plenty of shade to run from the sun, maybe sit back, have a cocktail, and meet your neighbors. Some of these neighborhoods will even have full service restaurants and golf courses. Usually the clubhouses are fairly big and they're set up to have arts and crafts rooms, group meeting rooms, for example, places to play billiards, poker, mahjong, just all kinds of rooms for get together to have a little bit of privacy. Outside, the activities will include lots of pickleball courts, tennis, and bocce. So what's it like in terms of being able to meet new people when you first move in? What about socialization? I mean, if you first move in, what's that look like for you? Well, the larger communities here in Florida do have full-time activities directors, and I kind of like to think of the activities director is like your wingman. They're set up to be a facilitator for you to meet new people. I mean, my neighborhood, for example, we've had whiskey and cigars, wine tastings. They'll even organize events sometimes outside, especially here because we have a lot of the baseball clubs here. So they're doing their winter training here. So you'll see events like that. Let's cover age-restricted and related questions. Can you own or buy a house in a 55-plus community if you're younger than 55? Well, the answer is maybe. Don't you just love that answer? But it really depends on where you live. I will use the disclaimer that you need to check the governing documents of the community you are interested in to determine what their rules are. But there are cases where the answer is yes. And here in Florida, there's legislation related to what we call the 80-20 rule. And it just means that 20% of the homes in a development can be owned by somebody that's younger than 55. The 80-20 rule is totally up to the neighborhood. But many here in Florida have incorporated that rule, but have additional age restrictions, such as an owner has to be at least 45 years old. The two neighborhoods that I lived in Del Webb and Crestwind here in Lakewood Ranch, both adopted the 80-20 rule. In both neighborhoods, I've sold homes to owners that took an early retirement but were under the age of 55. By the way, if you're interested in learning more about Del Webb and Crestwind, you can check out the video here. I made one that compares the two neighborhoods to see if you want to explore them, which one is a better fit for you. A next question, age related. My partner's 55 or older, but I'm not. Can we buy or own a home in an age-restricted neighborhood? Yes, if one homeowner is 55 years or older, but the spouse or the partner is not, that's okay. And it's not considered part of the 80-20 rule. When my husband and I bought our first home in Del Webb, I wasn't 55. But if the circumstances change in that relationship, and the younger person decides to keep that house, then the 80-20 rule may apply. Next up, can your grandchildren visit? Of course they can, and they're welcome. However, most communities have a time limit on how long they can actually stay. What if you have a child in college that comes home for the summer? Normally, communities accept that situation. If the college student is away during the school year and only comes back 2 or 3 months, that is acceptable in most communities. What about special needs or young adults? I have a few clients that have young adult children in their care. In this situation, many of the neighborhoods will make an exception. If you can't find the verbiage in their governing documents, make sure that you get a written approval before considering buying in there. What are resales like in a 55-plus community? Since the buyer pool is actually limited because it is age restricted, does that actually hurt the resale value? Well, here in Southwest Florida, communities like Del Webb, Crestwind, and Lakewood Ranch have actually seen home prices appreciate substantially. If the home is priced right, for the condition, size, and location, it will likely be under contract in less than a few weeks. Personally, I'm still seeing multiple offers on my listings in those two communities. But let's look at past sales because I pulled up some history of Del Webb here in Lakewood Ranch. Since Del Webb is completely closed out, meaning there's no new construction available, and it's roughly 9 years old, we can get an idea of how sales are doing in there. This graph shows the list price to sale ratio for the past 12 months. A list price to sales ratio just measures the difference between the final negotiated price and what the seller was originally asking for. You can see in August and September of 2022, the sellers received 100% of their asking price. But when you move into the fall, they actually negotiated a little bit more off the price of the house. Why is that? Why do we have a change in the fall? Well, there are less buyers. However, if you look at overall, the average, most sellers received almost 99% of their asking price. Finally, I want to share with you one of the type of homes or floor plans not to buy in a 55 plus community, or at least not purchase without thinking about this or having a discussion about this. Homes that have lofts or two-story homes in an age-restricted community can take longer to sell. I've represented numerous sellers that have owned homes with stairs, and the feedback from buyers has always been the same. Wow, Sandy, it's a lot of house and it's a lot of stairs. So if you're considering buying a larger home or even building one because you need the extra space, consider building out rather than building up. I'd like to hear from you and your experiences. If you've lived in this 55 plus community, put your comments below. If you're interested in knowing more about 55 plus communities in Southwest Florida, you can see my 2 videos right here, or search homes for sale in Southwest Florida for 55 plus communities with the links below, and I'll talk to you soon.